What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Crane Kicks Lex podcast. We are back after finally picking up a string of points. We have two consecutive point-winning results. I'm feeling okay about this, which we'll get into that soon. But hey, you know what? After these last few weeks, like Cloud 9 is where I'm at the moment in comparison. It's all relative, right? Man, been a minute. You guys have been busy. I've been busy. School's getting ready to start back up. I'm getting my library all in order, moving all my books into place. Got brand new furniture and brand new flooring. So I'm feeling like the man right now. Everybody keeps walking in and they're like, "This is amazing. How did you do this?" And I'm like, "It wasn't me. I just asked, and I had a kind and magnanimous leader that was like, 'Yes, you can have money.' And so, asking you shall receive, and here we are." Then Dylan, how are you doing? Let's get to you next, man. You've had a busy weekend.
Yeah, I was traveling over the weekend. I went to Seattle, spent some time with some friends and family, and it was a good time. We went to the Phillies Mariners game, which didn't go so hot. The
Yeah.
Phillies kind of got destroyed in the game we went to. So, but I had a good time. I am so exhausted. I did manage to watch most of the game, so that was still good at a point.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I'm just so exhausted. So I'm running on very little sleep from this weekend.
Like changing time zones is the absolute worst. I mean, like
Man,
a lot of my family lives in Central, so it's just an hour, but then 3 hours is insane because you go somewhere and you feel like a time lord and you're like, "Oh my
man,
gosh, I just gained 3 hours of my life. I can do anything now."
it, it
And then you
was
come back.
It was so hard to like just communicate with my wife. Like it felt like she was
Right.
on a different planet than I.
Yeah.
And normally I feel like in our group texts we're pretty active and stuff, but like I just couldn't hang with you guys.
Yeah, I know. Like Dylan's usually the first one to text in like any day that happens, unless me or Kyle are just especially on it. And then we're sitting here texting, and then Kyle's like, "Hey, like it's probably like 6 in the morning where Dylan's at." I don't know if he's appreciating these text messages this early, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's fair point." Like, well, oh well, what's done is done.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you had a good time, man. That's all that matters. Kyle, what you been up to, man? Any jet setting for you? Usually, you're our guy that you're like, I just went to Milan, went to New Zealand for a week.
Who, me? Man,
Whew.
um, no, not a ton. Really enjoying the Olympics, here in my neck of the woods. We've been enjoying the Paris in prime time, and I've been, like, really into, like, as soon as I get into work, I just get the iPad up, figure out what's on, and it's been fantastic watching. I mean, there's obviously appointment viewing. Like, I've watched really into this basketball team has been really fun to watch for the U.S. And then there's some other, obviously, like Simone Biles and some of the big name swimmers and sprinters and things like that. But it's just all the random sports that you don't get to see, but once every 4 years for us folks who are not quite as tuned into some of those obscure sports from our vantage point. It's awesome. Today's was kayak cross was the one I watched, and it was fan
Yes,
freaking tastic. And if you get
it's
a chance,
amazing.
it is so cool. It looks like you're just trying to survive and like not die.
Yeah,
It is awesome. I can't recommend it enough. And then you flip over and it's synchronized swimming, and that's ridiculous and amazing. And I mean these athletes. I know it's not not breaking news here, but just the precision and the skill. Every single one of these sports is crazy. So yeah, it's cool just to see the best of the best at each of these various sports and wonder, how did so and so get into this sport? How do you even start? Like
like
the
speed walking.
kayak, like the kayak cross. Like, how do I want to do that? Where do I go
Yeah,
to sign up? Like, it's
right.
just
In
it's
my head,
awesome.
I always just say that's rich people stuff. I'm like,
Yeah,
that's rich
exactly.
people
Yeah,
stuff.
I mean,
yeah. I
I
wish
could
I
probably throw
could
down some
afford it.
mean ping pong though.
Yeah, I know. Table tennis is what it
Yeah.
is.
Oh yeah. Yeah. My
Yeah,
bad.
yeah. So
They're gonna come after
that's
me
what we
now
call it in the. And I'm a big pong
in
head,
the pro
so
world.
um, no, it's been great, man. We've like I said, we've been enjoying the Olympics. Summer's winding down. I also work in the education system, so the fall is right around the corner. And I guess since I'm in the college world, we're not back to school quite so soon, but we're just gearing up, man, and coming up on the end of our USL season, on the end of one USL season, and another. So it's a good time, and like I said, just these Olympics, man, they're fantastic. And watching some of the soccer too has been
it's just so nice to always have like a sport on midday.
Live sports.
Like having a
It's
sport on
amazing.
during the day is just so nice. And like during when it's not the summertime, all the other seasons, we always have like soccer during the day or something, whether it's like Champions League or Premier League or, whatever. And then, summer, those seasons, and then we had the Euros and, on not COVID times, we would have World Cups and stuff. And then to counter that, there's also the Olympics and stuff, and like just having that on all the time is just so nice. And it just it gives you something to look forward to, and it breaks up the monotony. I can't say that word of the day. It's been a long week. And
that was an Olympic level word.
Yeah. I've been really impressed with the coverage too of the Olympics. Like,
yes,
and I think the most recent one in Tokyo, that's like a 13-hour time difference. So that one was odd because it'd be like, the weirdest times. Like you couldn't see anything you wanted to see live. Like you had to catch up on a lot of stuff later. And it's a little bit like that for this Olympics, but I feel like they've done a good job, at least, helping us Americans out with some of our more notable events taking place during the day. But then I think that prime time in Paris is like a fantastic kind of way to end the day, even if you've already seen some of the highlights. It's kind of a nice recap, but at the same time, it's like, there's 4 channels all the time going on with different sports. So it's cool. I mean, I got the app. The app is great. I just got a notification from the app right now.
I didn't even know there was an app. I should have known that, but I didn't.
Oh yeah.
It's been a beautiful setting too. Like I love how the beach volleyball, they're just the Eiffel Towers in the background. I watched the women's decathlon, I think it was, where the one where they swim, bike, and run, and they're just triathlon. Sorry, long weekend.
It's a lot of sports, man.
They're running.
I'm saying that because I've done like 5 or 6 myself, obviously.
Oh, here we go. I knew we were coming back to this.
No, I can't swim. I can swim, but not for that long. I get winded going down the neighborhood pool.
That's when Dylan swoops in with the kayak. We learned watching the people kayaking, and then he comes and pulls you on board. It's all good. I've just been addicted. Like I cannot stop just like switching between like anything that just looks remotely interesting. And the gold zone has been awesome for that too. I love that. But then also I just find myself kind of like clicking back and forth. I was watching some surfing. I watched the round of surfing that they caught that crazy photograph of the Brazilian surfer where it looks like he's just like standing in midair with a surfboard next to him. That is the most incredible photo I think I've seen in a long time. Watching women's rugby, that like I don't know. Ever since I watched that documentary that was on Netflix a few months ago, I've been getting deeper and deeper in the rabbit hole, and now I'm like all in. And I was just obsessively watching. My son would like walk out, and he's like, "What you got? What you watching now?" Is like it just like table tennis? Are you doing judo? And I'm like, "No, it's rugby." And he's like, "Rugby again?" It's like, "Yeah, it's rugby again. We're doing this now." It's just been cool seeing all these different athletes succeed and represent their countries. They've been hecka cool. Skateboarding was awesome. I loved that. Really cool. Yeah. Like growing up in the 90s, like just watching skateboarding and seeing everything they're doing, it just takes you back. You feel like you're in a Tony Hawk game all over again. And just the soundtrack starts playing in your brain while they're doing everything. It's been cool.
Yeah.
What Olympics?
If you can wear AirPods during your sport, like it's a cool sport. Like that's, more sports you should be able to wear AirPods. But they do a great job.
I'm wondering what they were listening to.
Yeah.
Probably Sweet Kisses by Jessica Simpson. I think that's what they were listening to.
Yes. Yeah. That or the podcast. One of the other.
Nigel Houston's about to go and he's like, hold on, and he like finds the latest episode and drops it and,
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he held up his skateboard and there's a CKL sticker on the bottom.
I will say for some of the like more obscure sports, the commentators are such like they're so aware of their sport, and like they will almost explain things, which is great for me. So I'm like, what is going on? They'll be like, now you're supposed to do this, and like this is what you want to do. And so they do a good job talking to dumb people like me and like trying to kind of make it more approachable, like for kids and everything else too. So that's been enjoyable, because most of the time when I turn something on, I'm like, I watched, I don't know if they call it rock climbing. It's probably got
Yeah.
bouldering maybe.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
I was like, man, they're randomly scoring points, but I know they're not. So it's like good that they're explaining a lot of these events.
I can't wait to watch the breakdancing. I gotta watch it. It's gonna be amazing. I don't know, and I think like there've been so many cool moments too. I mean, I already talked about the photograph of like the Brazilian surfboarder, and then the U.S. women's rugby team, and like kind of the explosion with Ilona Mar, and kind of how she like was out in the limelight promoting the sport and all this positivity. And then you've got like Noah. Oh my gosh, what can I remember his last name? Lyles. Yes, like that dude winning, and after he had that whole like series of different things he made the news for, like when he had that Yu-Gi-Oh card in the case with Snoop Dogg, and Snoop Dogg's opened the case and he just pops it open. I just love these athletes that have like the swag and have fun with it. Even like the Polish runner, I'm missing her name now, but she was like very electric to watch and had a lot of personality.
Loda,
like before. And
You're talking about the girl who had the Mickey Mouse voice?
I don't know. I can't
that's
remember.
That's
Wow.
She had a bunch of tattoos. I think her first name was Iwa. I don't know. She had a lot of personality. It was cool to watch those types of athletes take the stage and just have fun with it all. Because it's very high pressure. So to go out there and like be able to still be you and have your personality shine even through all the pressure of knowing that everybody in the world is watching these events and like waiting to see if you're going to be the one that takes home a medal, and then maybe you don't. I don't know. It's cool. So many amazing athletes.
Yeah, for me, like I will watch anything that the U.S. is playing in or Ireland is playing in. Like those two countries, like I'm gonna tune in no matter what the sport is. It could be the most obscure thing, or it could just be basketball. I'm tuning in, and I I kind of get upset as a USA fan when we get bronze.
Yeah.
I'm like, I want gold every time. I want to beat China because they're kind of neck and neck with us in terms of like gold. So like, I want the most gold. That's the most important to me. I want.
And they look happy to get bronze, and I'm like, what? Like,
I know.
What are you doing?
If you ain't first, you're last.
Right.
I always have to reality check myself, because sometimes I'm like, man, the player pool is insane. So still to be top 3 is ridiculous. But I'm with you. It's always like, man, I wish we could have gotten gold out of that one.
Yeah.
The terrifying thing is to think about like the amount of repetition that these athletes do, especially like solo.
Oh man.
Like if you're a gymnast and you do this vault 7,000 times leading up to the Olympics, but like you get one chance to do it. Like the nerves I would crumble. Like I mean,
yes.
To Dylan's point, like to your point, Tyler, like just the sheer pressure. Like I mean, I would be a puddle. So to do it with all those cameras, like it's amazing. This has been a fantastic Olympics for the internet, also, like just with memes and videos, and you can get really political on things, which I know we don't want to bring up. You can be funny and watch pole vaulting.
LeBron carrying the torch like he was Washington crossing the Delaware.
Yeah. So it's just been the Turkish pistol, like
Turkish
shooter. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. The quote that's photographed of him. I'm a natural shooter.
John Wick.
Yeah.
Yes. That meme is going to be used so much in soccer. It's going to be ridiculous. I'm a natural shooter.
I
it's
saw
just going to
like,
be here
next
for
season
months.
Ted Lasso is going to be crazy because it kind of looks like Nate from Ted Lasso a little bit. It's awesome. A great Olympics for the internet. Like this is what the internet's for.
Yeah.
I think it's good and bad. Like obviously you don't want to wade into some of the, more political aspects of people complaining about this and that, but it's been really enjoyable just to follow along for the highs and the lows. And today there was a world record in like pole vault, and then you switch over and you can watch track stars running around the track, and then you switch over again and it's synchronized swimming. Just it bouncing back and forth is awesome.
Isn't it cool that Chase Budinger was on the men's volleyball team? I thought that was
Yeah.
like the coolest thing in the world.
That was pretty cool.
They lost today though, so that wasn't the coolest thing in the world.
That wasn't cool. I do have one complaint. We are really bad at 3x3 basketball.
Yeah, why aren't we using the guys who didn't make the Olympic roster?
I have no idea.
Hey, there's so many better players that are available.
Canyon Berry, what are we doing with Canyon? Now the women did win bronze today, so like that, but still,
yeah, there's WNBA players. Let them go.
They did in Tokyo, and we got gold. That's what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Now they did have Ryan Howard on the team. She played at UK and I think she was a top overall pick. But
oh dang,
I don't know, man. The men's 3x3. I don't know what we're doing. We invented the sport. We don't need to settle for anything less than gold.
Yeah, that hurts when you invent it and then you're just like, what is happening right now? I don't know. I keep finding myself having like, somebody tweeted this. I forget who it was about like their toxic trait, looking at, I forget which sport it was, and being like, I could get a group of my buddies and we could go like medal in this right now. I find myself like thinking through that when I'm watching a lot of these like different sports and events and being like, I wonder if I could maybe do that.
Name your
bronze
sport,
is on the table. Like
Name
badminton. I could try to do badminton. I think I could swing for the fences and get that one. I'm pretty good. I've killed wasps with a tennis racket in the backyard to save my sons. And if you can hit a wasp with a tennis racket, you can hit a badminton birdie. Is it birdie?
Shuttlecock.
Shuttle. I don't know. Look, okay. Look, I don't need to know the terminology. I just need to know that I'm good and my partner's good. So if you feel like me that you could be that person in the badminton tournament and medal, then let's link up. And then next one, we got this.
Yeah, I think mine would just be handball because I'm like that
Ooh,
was
yeah.
PE. Like that's PE. I'd have to learn the rules, but come on, like that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I think it's just like soccer with your hands.
Yeah,
I think I'd be in the Winter Olympics doing the curling.
Oh yeah.
Ooh,
I'm more
yes.
fit
If we
for
went
that.
Winter Olympics, absolutely.
Or
curling.
Or like the rowing, there's a guy at the front that sits and just tells them like when to row. I don't know what that guy does. I could do that. I'd probably have to lose some weight.
Like my jam.
Yeah.
Just yell.
Just yell at them. Like, let's row. Let's get it together. Let's go faster. I'd be good at that.
Yeah. And they'd be like, why are you so heavy, man? You're making this tougher. And then you're telling us to row harder. And I'm like, I didn't tell you to comment. I just said row.
Yeah. You got like a beer in one hand, and I'm just like,
yes. Speaking of toxic traits, though, we're going to take a hard shift. Let's talk about the obsession with the stadium progress real quick. The club tweeted out, posted on IG, that there's more progress happening with the stadium. They've got the corner stands going in, and now they've got the frames for the boards. It looks like at least 2 from the picture, but I'm curious if there'll be more, but there's at least 2 there. And so we're getting even closer to this final completion. Well, I shouldn't say final. We all know it's going to be a work in progress for some time to come, but final in the sense that we will be playing there. It's happening. It's really going down. We're going to have the things that we need. So that's crazy neat. And I know a lot of people kept tabs, like going and taking photos and stuff, but it really is nice to see the club sending that out too, because not everybody's going to catch those things. And so just getting those from their perspectives has been neat. And then, Ethan that does videography with the club, he had that video whenever the grass was like put in, and it was very cinematic, and he always chooses dope music. And it was just one of those weird hype videos that doesn't have like a lot of like intensity to bring hype, but it was just like the quiet hype. Like you were watching and you're like, oh man, this is it. This is happening. We're really there, or we're going to be there. So it's very cool. Super exciting stuff. I'm insanely pumped. I keep trying to figure out which seat is mine. I don't know. And I don't know, like I tweeted this out. I posted it too. And I think I sent it to you guys as well. The new benefits for season ticket holders. I'm super curious on clarification on that whole like permanent name in the stadium situation. I know Lou City did something like that, if I remember correctly. I think they put it on the seats. So I'm curious where people's names are going to go for being season ticket holders for this inaugural season of the Super League, or when it opens up. Obviously, if you're already a season ticket member for the men's team, I'm pretty certain you're already included, because I got the email. Dylan, I think you got it too, right?
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like, to me, that's insane. That's super cool to think that everybody's names that were there from before the stadium, they're just going to be immortalized in some way, shape, or form, whatever that might be. I don't know if it's going to be like a wall with a bunch of bricks with people's names. I don't know if it's going to be seats. I don't know, but I know it's going to be pretty rad to walk in and be able to see your name, your friends' names, everybody's names that are going to be future friends because they're fans. That's I don't know. That's pretty choice in my book. They listed all kinds of other stuff that you're going to get along with it, like special ticket packages, or like a special item each year that's personalized or specialized. And those are all really cool. But just being a part of like the history of the club, like physically,
Yeah,
that's wild to me.
that was the
That's,
coolest thing to me as well.
yeah, like, oh, that's even when they like posted that you could do things like have lunch with the coaches, which is also very cool. I mean, that's an experience you're going to remember. But yeah, that one took the cake for me. It was cool stuff. So if you're not already a season ticket holder, that the email read like, if you are a season ticket holder by the time the stadium is up and ready to go, you qualified. Now, if I were you, don't go running off and be like Tyler said. I would check with a ticket rep, get in touch with one of them, ask them if that's still like on the table before you just go out and do it. But that's my understanding. So definitely check into that, because I think that's pretty awesome. And it's not too late to get season tickets for the women's team. They're already available. And in fact, if I remember correctly, there's supposed to be available for single tickets tomorrow. I think it said Monday the 6th, but tomorrow's the 6th, so it's kind of questionable. I didn't see them on the website today, so I'm assuming tomorrow is the correct date. But if you want the extra little perks, season tickets are where it's at. I'm pumped. All right, you guys ready to get in some matches?
Let's
Talk
do
about
it.
this stuff.
Let's do it.
Let's talk about the easy one first, the win. I say easy, but like, it took us a while to get there. We had a string of results that were counterintuitive to what we saw against Richmond. And we talked about this a little bit, and even in my match preview, about how Richmond was probably the team that if we were going to turn things around, it would be them, most likely. Like, everything that you looked at statistically, as far as, really anything, and our form, it was weirdly like for like going down the list. Like, no matter what you were checking, no matter what you were scoping out. And so it felt like a match that we could easily win, but also a match that they could easily maybe pull something out and then find some form on us. And it worked out in our favor, right? And we ended up with two absolutely amazing goals with absolutely amazing assists to complement them in that match. What are we thinking? How do we feel about that win? Like, what did that do in you guys' minds for morale, or did it kind of give you a little bit of a spark of hope?
Yeah, I think we looked good in the first half. And, the goal was, awesome. The assist was awesome. I thought there was some decent link up play in the first half. And I'm really glad that, going into halftime was nice, with the lead coming out right away and giving that one away. I did not love that, but to get it back right away, makes up for it a little bit. It definitely helped, so we could maintain the lead again. But the getting close to the end of the game started to get really, really sweaty, and I was getting really, really nervous. And there was a lot of extra time added, and I was starting to get very, very worried about what was coming. But Amal played really well, and
Mm-hmm.
I think he really was what kept us in the game. Again, I have mentioned it. I'm not going to put this on you guys. I have mentioned it before. I haven't been in love with the way the substitution's been going and the kind of the game plan of these games, and that kind of I feel a little vindicated in this opinion because of this game. Same thing kind of happened. We really got to tighten things up. I really think the players won us the game against Richmond, despite some of the decisions made.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you're incorrect in those, in that type of sentiment, because it's something that we kind of continue to see even into this most recent match that we'll get to. But to me, this was just a showcasing of just like the absolute high level of talent that this team possesses and individual talent that this team has, and which, for better or worse, sometimes that, it feels like Lexington has moments of brilliance like this. Not always something you want to rely on, but I mean, the assist that Yannick had and the finish that Azad had on the end of it, like, and then you go to the Nico one, Nico assist connecting to a test, like those are just moments of brilliance, individual brilliance, really. That it's something that you can look at and say, man, I'm glad they're on our team. And then on the other hand, it is a little bit like if we don't have those type of, I mean, Sports Center top 10 plays, like, where does that leave you? But to me, I know we talked about it afterward, just the three of us, like it was something that we sat here on the podcast a couple weeks ago and had to come off talking 3 losses in a row where the team actually looked better in all 3, like 1, 2, 3, kind of building this, but it was still no points, no points, no points. And so to finally get 3 points, I mean, to me, it was a fantastic result, obviously, but it was also something that was kind of building from the last few matches. And it was like one of those you can finally at least exhale a little bit and say, well, at least we were working towards something. And it could, because I felt like we were in the match against Madison and Tormenta, and looked a lot better than the one before against Union Omaha. So it was a little bit of a relief to get the 3 points. As much as I do want to acknowledge that, like, yeah, you had flashes of brilliance, and a lot of times that's what soccer comes down to.
Yeah, and that's me too. I kind of had a moment there where I was like, oh man, that got chippy at the end, like Dylan said, where it was like, I mean, are we gonna let one happen? Like, what's going on here? And then I let that pass like almost immediately. I was just so happy to get a win. And I feel like a lot of people were just in that sentiment of like, we got 3 points. We got 3 points. And you could nitpick and then be like, all right, it was against Richmond, who has not been good this year. The only reason they're ahead of us in the table is because they've got like 2 more games on us right now, and managed to scrape some points out of those extra 2 that they've played. We could easily overtake them by the time we reach the same number of matches. So they've just not been very good. Everybody beats up on Fuego because Fuego's hung out in like 12th, but now they have the same number of points as us, or actually surpassed us. So now they're like in 11th, right? But Richmond has really struggled. That being said, you got to take the points when you can, and any team can beat any team. I mean, Richmond beat Madison, who has beaten us a couple of times already and gave us a thumping, and then Richmond went and beat them, even though they've struggled with everything else this year, it seems. So 3 points felt really good, and not just good in the sense we got 3 points. It was good because of those goals. Like those weren't just, oh man, it ping ponged around, happened to kind of roll in. We finally got some luck. It was like, all right, skill was involved in both of those on all levels. And it felt like we were really capitalizing on what Kyle said, where that momentum being built over the last few matches was finally coming to a head. And we were seeing a lot more of that chemistry and a lot more of those link ups that was going to push us to where we wanted to be. So I was feeling really solid. Now, I won't lie. You also have that in the back of your head, like, okay, is this a one-off? Is this we beat a bad team and we happen to be better than that bad team? What's going to happen when we go up against a good team? We had a great result, stealing some points against Greenville away, right? Which was amazing. They're an awesome team, but you start having to weigh out, like, are we getting lucky or are we getting good? Are we getting lucky or are we getting good? Maybe we're getting both. Who knows, right? And I feel we kind of started getting a little bit more hope in the next match, right? When we get to Charlotte, that first 45, I don't know about you guys, but the whole first 45, I was like, this is it. this is like what everybody said we were going to be at the beginning of the season. Like everybody and their brother was like, here's Lexington. Here's them destroying every team. Here's how they're going to operate. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be exciting football. They're going to be scoring tons of goals. Everybody's going to be connecting. It's going to be wild. And that just hasn't happened. But that first 45, it was like you finally get a glimpse through a portal into an alternate future where everything is as you want it to be. And you're like, oh my gosh, can I just live there? And then somebody closes the portal on you and pulls you right back out. And they're like, no. You got to live here and now. Because, not to transition too hard, but if we kind of go into that Charlotte game, you're wondering, right, are we going to keep momentum? And that first 45, it had to feel like we were gaining momentum, like not just gaining momentum, like we were blossoming into this team that could do it, because Charlotte, they're kind of slept on. I said this in the write-up, they're slept on. They're an upper table team. And a lot of teams are like, yeah, but they don't have all the pieces. They kind of rely on, just a couple of attackers and then good goalkeeping. That's really what gets them through. Fact of the matter is they're top of the table now, right? And they were second when we played them. And you don't just happen to be there, and not this deep in the season anyway. So they are good in their own right. So to be doing that against a good team felt pretty amazing. How did you guys feel, maybe going back to after the Richmond win, but then transitioning into like that first 45 of the Charlotte match? Where were your heads at?
Oh, yeah, I mean, I agree. That was like, this is it. It was like everything kind of rolled over into what we've been expecting to see this whole time, and it was like you knew it was there all along in some sense, at least just given the talent on this team, and then also given some of the chemistry that's been building up. Folks coming back from injuries, things like that. With Loudy and Lancaster both kind of being banged up over the last few months, just on various, and Yannick too being hurt. So you kind of see all these pieces come together, and yeah, it seemed like going up 3-0. It was almost like a fever dream, and it was like, let's go back to March and start this thing over. That's how it
Yeah.
felt. I mean, it was like this is everything we thought it could be, and it was making sense, and it was like flowing, and it wasn't like they didn't feel like, obviously there's world class. I mean, Lancaster's goal was fantastic, but it felt like they were deserved goals, and it felt like that was the team we were meant to be.
Yeah, it was really fantastic to see, and I'm really glad that Lancaster got the star and got that goal, because that was like vintage Lancaster. That was like, oh, that's what we paid money for. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So that was really sick, and I thought the assist was really good play as well. The pass, I believe, was from Uche to Nico, who then, so that's
Popped it off. Yeah.
so we recognize the pass to assist on this podcast. So
Yep.
Uche got the pass to assist. That was really nice. And
Right.
then just like the passing all around was really good, and like it led to those goals. Like, Cerritos, his pass was just so clean, and
Perfectly weighted.
exactly, and he was really proud of it too. I saw he posted it on social media. I was like, you should, because that was a perfect play. And
It
like
was.
those through balls are just are so deadly when we're catching people off guard. And what's interesting? The stats don't really show that we were a good team.
Yeah.
Like
They're kind of mundane.
Yeah, I mean, we were just efficient, I guess you would say.
Yes.
We made the chances that we took, so that was really important.
It's true. And I feel like that's been missing, is that efficiency. And, you talked about, everybody being clean with their passing. Cerritos is the reason why Yannick gets the ball in the first place to do his through ball that finds Chris Liu Young. And so all those connections were just so smooth, and the awareness so smooth. Everybody seemed to know, okay, you're going to be here, you're moving there. If I do this, I can, cause penetration here, get the ball to you there. And it was just great. It seemed like players playing together that knew each other's tendencies and knew what to do in any given situation. It really felt truly like we were playing with cohesiveness, which we've said it on here before. Sometimes it felt like we weren't. And we've done a lot of iterations of our lineups since then. We've kind of settled a little bit over the last few games. The games that we've kind of built momentum, it's been overall the same general lineup, minus maybe one or two changes, give or take. But I think that matters. It feels like we're starting to find our group, like really our true starting 11 that we're thinking this is who we want to go with because they're the ones that are progressing and working well together. And we saw amazing goals from that. I mean, there's no disputing it. You know, I'm honestly like flabbergasted thinking about the goals from Richmond and then the goals from the Charlotte game and being like, which one's best? Like, which one of these would I look at and be like, oh man, that's like the goal, because they all have their own like unique thing about them. You know, talking about, you know, Cam, you said vintage Cam. He was taking vintage Cam shots all night. Those screamers from out, and they were on target. You know, they were finding their mark at just not getting past Pack because he's a phenomenal goalkeeper. But he has that howler that makes it in, and it was pure instinct. Dude, like he's practiced that so much, all muscle memory. He knew what he was doing without even having to think about what he was doing. You know, you think about the goals from the previous match, Ates getting that header on the run, full sprint, and then directing it right where he wanted it to go. You're talking about Azad, that acrobatic kick, semi scissor kick to get that ball in the goal. They were all just awesome. They were dangerous. It felt like everybody was playing with swagger. Everybody was playing with intention. They just knew, like, this is the game that we're going to do it. You know, even with that goal that happened at the end of the first half, it still felt like, okay, but we're still up 2 on them. Like, we've scored 3. They got 1 back. It was kind of a fluky goal. It was a little bit of a weird one, right? Because the ball comes in and then it's like everybody kind of looks at each other like, who's getting this? And then the Charlotte player's like, I'm getting this, and then grabs it. And before Amal can come out and do anything, he just taps it right back. And then they just smash it right into the goal. And everybody's sitting there looking at each other like, who is supposed to have that? So that was a little concerning. I'm not going to lie. Whenever I saw people like walking in the box around that whole thing happening, if you go back and look, there were people literally just walking.
It was a blunder. Complete blunder.
It's like everybody just kind of stopped. And I don't know, maybe something was said that I couldn't hear. Like maybe Amal called for it. Maybe somebody else called for it. I don't know. Like you couldn't really hear on the broadcast what exactly went down, or at least I couldn't. But man, it was kind of a bad one to give up, just because it seemed like there was a complete defensive breakdown where nobody communicated or was moving. But, you know, we talked about it. Sometimes you just have those momentary errors. So in my mind, I was like, okay, this is something we can come back from. It's not like nail in the coffin level. Mistakes happen. We'll clean it up. We've been playing too good not to clean it up. And then we kind of let it slip a little bit, right? You know, and the next 2 goals, it's the same deal. If you actually, I noticed this when I was looking back before we got together to do all this. If you look at the goal Richmond scored and the 2 goals that were scored later in the match against Charlotte, all 3 of those kind of follow a similar pattern where they pop off from our right side, go right across the front of the goal, and then find their way in because somebody's there ready for it. Like, no matter if there's chaos or it finds them directly, like, of course, there's that one header, just pops it right in, but then there's a couple other ones where it's chaotic and then they happen to have a player right in the right spot. But man, they are like killing us with these crosses in from our right-hand side that go directly in front of goal, but just outside of like Amal's reach, which is a bummer.
When you mean our right side, you're like
if I'm Amal,
if you were Amal, okay, right. Thank you.
So like,
yeah, I noticed that happens to us too. One thing I also notice is part of our game plan is kind of not playing with a back 4, is actually playing a back 3 with Jorge, Uche, and Modesto, and then Chris Lou Young is usually too far up right, and you know he's kind of like an offensive player in our system a little bit more than he is a defensive player at sometimes, and I do feel like you know. You know, maybe it's not necessarily a personal issue. Maybe it is a personal issue. Maybe it is players making mistakes. But I think it also could be a tactical issue where we're leaving that flank wide open because there's a guy who's, he's in the box, in the opposition's box, trying to make a pass, but we don't even have the ball, like
Yeah.
it's crazy.
You're right. And it's like, if we're going to leave those channels on the outside open, which, I mean, that's what you risk when you play your wide backs up higher, right? Like those fullbacks, if they're going to progress up the field, which sometimes I've noticed they'll switch, and sometimes Jorge will be a little bit more progressive. Not as often as Chris, though, because obviously Chris is really dangerous when he actually gets up there. I mean, it's proven by his goal he scored. That thing was nasty, right? And he did one of those in preseason, like the same type of deal. So it's good to be aggressive in those ways, but then it's like you have to be confident that you're going to be very sound in those central areas. So that way, when they do send those crosses, like somebody's clearing that. So somebody's getting that out of there, like no matter what. And I feel like we faltered on that. A lot of times people will cross it in and it just kind of ping pongs around inside of the box. And it's so chaotic. It's hard to get a handle on what's happening. And I can't imagine being a keeper in that situation where you watch the ball bounce back and forth between 6 different people and takes these erratic movements. And you're like, where do I even stand? Let alone as a defender, you're trying to do that as well. But it's like something's gotta maybe kind of shore up in that department, because clearly we've kind of gotten torn up on that. Like, I mean, 3 out of our 4 goals that were scored on us in the last 2 matches came from that same type of situation where it's managed to be crossed in right into that sweet spot, and the chaos never goes our direction, except for that one time where it was ping ponging around and like everybody and their brother was trying to get the ball out. Jorge, got a boot on it. Uche had a block and was trying to get it out of there, kind of saved our butts. That one went our way, but man, it's scary. It's just, that's why it kind of stresses me out. And I've said this before on here, and I know we've all talked about it. It stresses me out when we kind of pull back a little bit and don't keep the pressure on. And I know that's not always by design. Sometimes you can't help it, right? The other team might have like figured something out and you haven't noticed that they figured it out quite yet. And so you have no choice but to pull back and play a little bit more defensively until you can kind of counter those things. But if we're forced to defend for too long in our own half, it's kind of leaky sometimes. And Dylan, you said, I think on a recent pod, that like the offense kind of needs to do their job and give us goals, so that way there's not as much pressure on the defense. This game, they did their job. And it's like, we can't ever quite have everybody getting the job done on all sides. And it kind of is a bummer, because it's like, man, they worked so hard. Everybody worked so hard. And then these missteps, they cost them 3, which 1 point I'm not going to be mad at. No way, no how. Now, does 1 point feel as good this late in the season when we're 12th in the table? No. But a point is a point. I will say that. But I don't know. Kyle, what are your thoughts, man? You unmuted a minute ago.
Yeah, and I was going to say, a point is a point, but when you're up 3-0, it's a little different too. But what's interesting, Chris Young, like obviously we saw you took the words right out of my mouth. That's why I was like going to chime in. It's like you said it. It was, he has the ability to play all the way up the field. So, things that we kind of saw Owen Green do a little bit last year. But asking that fullback to do that is really taxing. And Chris Young is started in all 18 matches this year, and he's played in 90 minutes in all but 2. And the 2 that he didn't play 90 minutes in, he played 86 and 88. So like there's just no depth in that right back position. And you ask a lot of him to play both in possession and out of possession. There's a lot being placed on his shoulders. And we saw during the match, obviously you mentioned his goal, like that is kind of the, best case scenario in terms of attacking that we see. But late in the games, that's where maybe some of the leaks start happening, is because there's just a lot put on, just a lot of minutes put on that side of the field for one player to try to patrol. So maybe but you look at in the 18 match day roster, like I'm not sure who. I mean, Tate Robertson is a player that could play that position. I feel like we've seen his development throughout the year and a half or so in the club as more of like an offensive player because of his skill set. But I'm not sure who the natural substitute would be. But it just feels like that's a position where if you're going to keep Chris Young on for 90 minutes, like he's going to need some more help probably because of the amount that he's moving up and down the pitch. I don't know. It just seems like, again, when you look at the numbers, look at the amount of minutes he's played without a sub, it kind of wears on you. And I think there's more spacing of matches this year. Like we haven't had a midweek match. I feel like last season there were at least a few thrown in here and there.
Right.
So you do have the benefit of that, but at the same time, it's there's a lot of pressure put on, a lot of minutes and wear and tear.
I mean, you're 100% right. And really, when we're thinking about depth in that position, outside of like maybe putting Tate there, it's pretty much like Kimball and then Anthony, I think, is capable of playing that outside back position. Two young players on our squad, and we've seen Anthony rostered a few times. It's not been consistent. Kimball's gotten a couple, but it is one of those things where you kind of wonder, like, okay, maybe give them a shot to kind of let Chris have maybe the last 15, 20 minutes to rest up a little bit, because the dude is a workhorse. Like you said, he's constantly running up and down the field because he's essentially, as Dylan pointed out, a member of the attack a lot of times, and he plays a little bit higher. So sometimes he's not having to do the full track back, but at the same time, it's a lot to do. It's a lot when you're playing that style of position. So, I'm with you. Like, why not see if maybe some fresh legs later in a match every once in a while can kind of keep things going in the direction you want? Because you also don't want to wear a player down to their bones, right? You don't want to end up with an injury with somebody who's clearly the number one in that spot. That's the choice that's been made. He's like the guy for that position. So if you keep running them that hard, which I know they're professional athletes, they know their limits, they know how to, manage the loads that are placed upon them. They've got people in the club that help with that as well. But yeah, that's something that I wonder too, because a lot of these goals sneak on us late in the match as well. It's always really, really late where you got tired legs out there. So it's tough, it's tough when you're in those predicaments, and, you can't just put it on one person, right? As a team, we got to be cleaner with getting those potential threats out of there. They got to go. And it also hurts too, seeing how many times we almost scored and we could have had it put away. And this is no knock against any of the offensive players. We had a lot of amazing shots on target. I already said Cam was popping off. Ates was too. Man, that ball where he sent it just around Austin Pack, and it was just a couple inches too far to the left and pinged off of the post instead of curling right into the net. Oh my gosh, I thought he had it. I think everybody on the field thought he had it. Like, for a moment, you see like Yannick put his hands up, like, oh my gosh, like that was so close. So it just sucks that we had such a dominant offensive performance, only for it to be overshadowed by the other team coming back and scoring 3 unanswered goals on us. Right. So it's kind of like bittersweet, because you would have loved for the guys to have been able to hang on to that, because it felt like they were playing so hard, they were playing so efficiently that they deserved that win. They just did. But I know you can't really say that about sports, right? You could say somebody deserves a win, but unless they win, I guess they don't. But in my mind, I was kind of heartbroken for the guys. I was heartbroken for myself and every other fan, of course, because we're all riding this high for 45 minutes plus. And then it kind of slips. And again, a point's nothing to be mad about. I don't want anybody thinking I'm just being a Debbie Downer, but a point when we're in the position that we're in, especially having a team come back and score 3 on you, like Kyle said, that kind of dampens a little bit of the excitement in those positions, and I will say, to be fair, Charlotte's number one on in the table right now. I mean, they're doing their thing. And to go toe to toe with them, I think that says volumes about our team. I would just really like to see us be able to finish these out, to be more like closers in those situations, and say, you know what, we drop goals on you and you're not going to touch us. This is ours now, and we're just going to handle our business. But
yeah, I think, again, I said this about the previous match, like, things need to be, like, decisions need to be made better so the players on the field can execute them better, because these late in the second half, we're giving up these goals, and the coach of the other team is clearly making adjustments to what he saw in the first half, and then we are getting complacent as a team, and we're not making any, changes, and everything we do is kind of of a reaction to what they do, and that's just not how you win, you know. And I know Tyler, I know you're a big fan of, like, put the foot on the gas and, you know, don't stop with the offense. We can put more offense on the field. I think it has to be a healthy dose of both. Like, definitely
Mhm.
replenish the offense, replenish the defense as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Give Chris Lou Young a break, or change it up, go to 5-back, put Tate in front of him or something.
Mhm.
You gotta start weighing these options in front of you if the same thing keeps happening. Like, if the second half is clearly a problem, we need to clearly make a change then, so it doesn't become a problem.
Yeah.
And yes, like, no one's gonna fault you, Tyler, for being a Debbie Downer when I'm on this podcast and I'm always the Debbie Downer. But like,
It's all
but yeah,
about
like,
balance.
it really sucked to, like, only just getting 1 point, because it felt like we had this in the bag. Like,
Yeah.
didn't it? It felt like we had this in the bag.
Yes.
It felt like we were the
Felt like
cream
a
of the
lock.
crop.
Yeah.
So I don't understand, like, really what is going on. And this late in the game, 1 point is not enough. Like, it.
Yeah. And when kind of speaking on this topic, we did open up for questions, although we did it kind of late. So that was my bad. I had a little bit of a day, so I got to it later than normal. But I did have somebody ask us, why do we think that Powell seems to have our guys settle back after a couple of goals instead of staying aggressive and on the attack? They said it seems like they get settled, and when the other team starts scoring, they don't know what to do and get lost. So I think that kind of goes along the same vein of what we're talking about with the settling back. I think traditionally we've done a lot of that where we're hanging on to a point or just hanging on to not lose. And so then we do kind of decide, all right, let's do a low block and like just hunker down and then see if we can ride out the storm. Except the storm is always pretty fierce in our experiences. And it's not such a fun time to go through that for 20 minutes where we're just defend, defend, defend. Um, the other trend I will say, I don't know that it's only just us kind of pulling back. And I don't know that we fully pulled back in the Charlotte match. I think that we had a few moments where we had to be a little bit more defensive because we had just put fresh legs on the field. And then they were kind of adjusting just like we were adjusting to them, who also, Charlotte, they put fresh legs out there as well. And then I think they just managed to kind of get the jump on us a little bit. And then the remainder of the match, we didn't hang back and just let it stay a draw or, say, oh, we're up 1 goal. So I don't think we did it as much this time. I will say the trend that I'm noticing, aside from us hanging back and getting scored on, it seems like it's right after we do subs. And it's not like we normally do 1 sub at a time. We tend to do 2 or 3 in short succession or all together. And so it's like these clumps of subs, which can be great. But if we're being real,
It's
if you got
jarring.
if you got chemistry kind of flowing finally, and then you put new people out on the field, you're working with a new type of chemistry. If you put 2 new people on the field, that's 2 new chemistries that you're trying to kind of figure out, right? And so I think that we've kind of been on the not so great side of us not figuring out our new kind of vibe before the other team figures us out and manages to score a goal. And I think that's what we saw with Charlotte. We made some subs. Of course, you can't really say that about the first goal, right? The first goal, it happened. It is what it is. It was earned by Charlotte. Can't really fault it. The last 2 goals, we had made some subs. We kind of got pinned back a little bit for a time. We were adjusting to everything. And they found a way. Just no 2 ways about it. So I don't know. I'm curious to hear you guys' thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, we need to have a healthy dose of everything. Like, when we need to hold back a little bit, we should do that. When we need to maybe have 5 guys at the back, we should do that. But when it's time, we need to hold possession. We need to hold the ball, keep it away from the other team, get passes moving, get into the opposition's third. It really has to be a healthy balance, and we're just not seeing that right now. We're seeing a lot of reactionary play, and we need to play our own brand of football.
Yeah, I think, first of all, like, this isn't a unique Lexington problem. Like, this is a problem. This is what happens in sports, and it's human nature too, in some sense. Like, it's, this isn't the first team to kind of hunker down with a 2-goal lead, right? Like, this isn't the first team to kind of pump the brakes a little bit. And then not only like tactically, I guess, but even just internally, like, if you're a competitor, if you're down by 2 goals, the team that's up by 2 goals cannot match your desperation. Like, they just can't. They can't match what you have to bring to the table, right? It's a team that is down. It's down 2-0 in a series. Like, in game 3, there's one team that's going to be more desperate, and you can't fake that. Like, I think that's been something that I believe in. I don't know if it's statistically true. I don't know what type of numbers are out there. I just feel like you can't fake that type of urgency. And so when you're the team that is now, I think part of the problem for Lexington is it's not as if, Lexington's had a bunch of leads in all these games, right? So it's not like that'd be maybe a good problem to have. So I think it's a bit of a blend of it's the way sports work. Like, typically we always say that, like, in every sport, when your team is winning, everybody always yells at the TV and is like, play to win, don't play to tie, don't play to lose. And I don't think I think that type of frustration is common. But it's just hard, I think, to actually make that like happen on the pitch, right? Like, for a lot of reasons. And I'm not trying to make an excuse for the players or for the coaches. I think there are ways to kind of go about handling leads, but I will say I don't think it's a unique problem. Like, I think this is just something that happens in sports, and I don't know if there is a specific like fix for this team for that scenario. I wish we had 2-goal leads more often that we could potentially squander.
Yeah. All right.
But at the same time, like, I think it's a blend of that, and then what Dylan said, where there's just a little bit of a switch. I think sometimes that's flipped too, that it's hard to unswitch it. Like, we can't, once we realize, like, once we get punched in the mouth, it's hard to be like, oh, we need to counter, right? Like, there's never a counter move. It's like we come out with the move, they respond, and then we're just like stuck, and so yeah, I don't know I don't know who I'm placing most, like, on a blame pie chart, who would get the biggest slice on this. I'd have to think about it. I'm sure the coaching staff would have a good amount. Players on the pitch have a good amount too. I think you have to, in a different way, blame Charlotte a little bit, right? Because they are the team that's desperate in that moment to keep on the front foot. So I don't know. That's a strange question to me to find like one answer to, I guess.
I just like, you make your own luck in sports, right? You have to make your own luck. Like, Tom Brady was lucky, right? But he was also really good, and he made himself lucky in scenarios, right? And we're not making ourselves lucky at all. And like, these unlucky bounces that we're having are just like so common. So I find it hard for luck just to be an excuse. Like, oh, that was an unlucky game for us. It just didn't come out the right way for us. Well, it hasn't come right for us all season, to be honest with you. So like, we can't really chalk it up to luck. We're not making our own luck. We're not making goals happen. And then when we are making goals happen, we're not sealing them down. We're not sealing down the victory.
It's just hard. Yeah, it does seem like this is a here we go again type of team. So
every time,
at some point, it's not a fluke or a coincidence or a, like you said, like luck. I just think from a fan perspective, sometimes like putting, like, to me, it's just looking a little bit at it from the perspective of a player on the pitch. Like, if you're up 3-0 or 3-1, you're just going to play differently than if you're tied or if you're down by 2. Like, I don't know. It's just, that's the way I think of it. And maybe I'm wrong, and I wouldn't be the first time. It probably won't be the last time I just think that there's a different level of not only tactically, like I said, approach to a game, but just physically the way you're going to play. And I think it's something that is easier said than done. But to your point, it's like this is a very common theme for this team. So you think at some point it would be something that's addressed. And I don't know, maybe it is as simple as tactically we're shutting things down when it shouldn't be shut down. But again, I think it's hard to remain in your attacking form when you're trying to preserve a lead.
Yeah, I mean, because it's true. Because Dylan, you pointed out, I love all gas no brakes style football, but you open up the field, you do also open yourself up to get scored on. So to be fair, like you had mentioned, you do have to have those fresh legs in the defense that can kind of help hold things up and keep up with the pace of things if that's how you choose to play. But you're right. It's tough. It's tough to say, if this is not the way, because if it was working, if us hunkering down was keeping goals out, it would be genius. It'd be frustrating for everybody else.
Some teams
It's
play
just,
that way on purpose, right?
yeah, right.
We don't have the personnel. We don't have the personnel to do that. There are teams that do not want possession, right? There are teams that would prefer to have fewer possession, and that's the way they play. And I don't think we're a team that can do both. It's just we're not built that way.
No. And so who knows, it's a tough one to work out. There's so many factors I feel like we all listed off that could be like the thing that's plaguing us. And you look at all these symptoms and when we're going to find the cure, who knows? Hopefully this weekend against Knoxville, but we'll get to that. It is what it is. Somebody also asked a follow-up question. We're kind of talking about a little bit of the struggles here. They asked if our season in the league, like league play, is kind of done. Is it not worried about Jaeger Cup? They didn't ask about that because obviously that's a much more favorable situation currently. But league play. Now I'll start off by saying I don't think so. Like 8 teams get into the playoffs, and the teams that are above us aren't really unreachable. At least if you go up to like the 7th spot. When you think about the number of games left over, it's totally possible that we catch that 8th or that 7th spot. I don't think that it's out of reach yet. Now, it sucks that we're now 12th. We finally hit the bottom of the table. We kind of hung on for a while, and Fuego was constantly on our heels, and we wouldn't let him quite catch us. But now we're there. We're at the bottom. But that could be very temporary. It just takes a couple of good results, and then before you know it, we're passing them up. We're passing Richmond up. We're passing up Tormenta. A lot of those teams that are hanging on the lower half of the table, they've not pulled so far away from us. Now, are we going to ever get, 3rd, 2nd, 1st this season? I think mathematically that's kind of out of the question. That I don't think that's a matter of like belief. So nobody can be like, you guys don't believe hard enough. It's math. I'm not that great at math, but I did pass a couple of classes in my day. So
I've been doing some math, and when we got this question, I started doing some math, and it's not pretty, Tyler. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. There's a very good chance that my math is incorrect, but I've been doing some math. So you have 10 points through 12 matches played. Historically, in the very brief history of this league, about 1.4 points per match will get you into the playoffs. That's kind of where this league has been. Now, obviously, there are 2 more playoff spots this year. So if you dropped it, like if you looked at last year, 1.2 points per match would get you in. So let's just say you
also
need
fewer games.
Fewer games, right?
Yeah, so points matter even more.
Right. So let's go with that 1.4 number. All right.
Yeah.
On 22 matches, that's about 31 points to get you into the playoffs. So if we're at 10 points, that means we need about 21 more points in 10 matches. So you need about 2 per match, and that's tough. Like that is the very, very high end of the league. Nobody this year has 2 per match, and one team did last year, but it's very tough. Now I think the good news is the league itself. Like if you looked at the combined, you've seen it, but it's on Football Reference where you can see the combined, like both Jaeger and League One matches. Obviously, Lexington's 7th on that table, so don't look at that if you're, super worried about it.
Makes
But
me
if you
mad.
just look at points per match, if you look at points per match, Lexington's at like 1.2, not bad.
Yeah.
But the best team in the league on this, it's tied between Greenville and Madison actually at like 1.84, with some other teams pretty close behind. So it's like the best in the league and the bottom of the league are much closer this year than they were last year. So that tells you what I think we already know. Any team can win on any given night, but to ask your team to get 2 points per match for the next 10 in regular season it's tough. And some more stats you're not going to like, Tyler. 12th in the league in shots on target per 90. Not getting enough shots off, right? We all know that. That's pretty simple. 11th in total shots, 11th in total shots on target, 10th in goals scored. Like, it's just none of these attacking numbers are what you want to see. Obviously, in the past few matches, we've seen maybe an uptick in that. And it's going to be tough because two points per match. I mean, you're looking at, you basically have to win and draw, win and draw. Like, that's
every single one.
Every other one, win and draw. Like, that's so it's tough. It's going to be I'd like to be as optimistic as you, Tyler, but that's going to be tough. So we'll see. I mean, like I said, you need about this year, maybe 1.2. So on the lower end, that would be, this is great podcasting, just numbers. People
I feel like I'm in algebra class.
Lost. They're just like, wait, hopefully you've been writing this down. Let's say you need 26 points to get in this year, given that there's 8. That means you're going to have to get 16 over the next 10, which is also pretty difficult. Not as hard, obviously, as 20, 21 points, but 16 over the next 10, I would say, is like,
it's at least half the games, right?
You would have a chance, but
shoot, man, just throwing your fancy math at me. Just
Tyler,
go back to Math Town.
You're not gonna like this. I have more stats to add.
No.
No, don't do it.
Our average. This is all for league stats. No Jaeger stats, but average possession, we're last. Big chances, we're last. Big chances missed, we're 11th. All right, accurate long balls per match, last. Accurate crosses per match, last. Accurate passes per match, we're 10th. We're in bottom tier of like almost all stats. The only one we're like leading in is clearances, and you know why? It's because a lot of people are playing in our box, and we're not playing in other people's boxes. Like,
okay, counter to all of this. You guys in your math, right? Counter. How good does that bright green on the crest look against a black kit?
Oh, it's fantastic.
Pretty slick.
See, look, all of our problems are solved. No, I mean, you guys are
wrong.
I mean, to answer the question,
right.
I'm very worried. I think the league is kind of like a wash for us, and I'd like that effing sucks. Like
the good news, I think there's the 3 points of the good news is you, as you mentioned, you're not that far from the cut line. And all you got to do is get a spot, because in this league, I really do think, I mean, we just played one of the best teams in the league, Charlotte, and there were, wide stretches of that match where, we were very clearly the better side. So if you can get yourself into the playoffs, then I think now you're talking, and now you do have a chance. Obviously, it's not like a lot of leagues where, it's all for show. I think really anyone can win. So,
right.
So that you have that going for you. You have the fact that it's a very tight league, top to bottom, in terms of like points per match. I think and then the third part of it is when you look at the full standings, again, combined standings, Lexington compares favorably as one of those playoff teams. So it can be done. I think part of the problem is the math, man, just the math. Like, I know a lot of people, when you leave school, they're like, you don't have to worry about math ever again. But I'm here to tell you, at this point of the season,
because math makes you sad.
I know,
because math makes you sad.
I hope the team, rips off 5 wins in the next 10 matches, or 6 in the next 10, and we're they're replaying this clip in the dressing room or whatever. Like, fine, I
Prove me wrong.
Yeah, that would be
Yeah.
fantastic. The continued stretch of excellence that is required is what worries me.
Until Altez Steve scores 30 goals to finish off the season.
Oh my God! Don't you like that? Kind of hurts bringing that up to think that he was so electric last season. I mean, he's still electric. I'm not taking that away from him. But in terms of like goal production, he was up there for the Golden Boot, and now it's like
he's having to share a little bit more though this year.
I know, and
I know.
In my opinion,
you like Altez Diouf.
Yeah,
that's fair. Everybody likes Altez.
I don't know if it's just because I'm in my mind, like in my work life, personal life, social life, I'm like planning fall events already.
Yeah,
we're just over halfway through the season, so like, of League One. So now I might be throwing some math out the window here, but I think we've played 12 and there's 10 that remain, right?
Yeah.
So there's still a chance. There's still a chance.
Look at this. We're back.
I'm not in.
We're back.
I'm not in. I'm not getting my hopes up.
Barely
say
halfway.
We're back, Dylan. Wait, no, Dylan does the reverse psychology, so it's okay. Never mind. Dylan say we're not back. Me and Kyle are going to say we're back. Then those things will counterbalance to create the perfect mix of we're backness. And
we might be
good.
back.
We might be back.
Look,
we're going to win this weekend against Knoxville for the first time ever, and then we're going to be back.
And then we'll be
How about
back.
that?
You know where the season really took a turn is when you guys had to run your mouths about Vermont. You were like, we're going to blow them out.
Yeah.
You know, that's where literally, I think that's where it really went downhill.
I went on their pod and I was really nice to them, though.
Yeah, I know you were, but Kyle was like, we're going to blow them out. It's going to be like 8-0. It's going to be a bloodbath. They're not even going to recover.
Fair. I did say a touchdown. I think I did say a touchdown.
See? Oh, man.
He said we're going to take their ice cream away from them and their famous cheese, I guess.
Yeah.
You know,
all their maple syrup.
Yes.
Boom.
None of Yeah, and they're so like environmentally friendly. Like we're gonna just torch the place, just the whole everything on our way out of town in our diesel bus.
Become best friends with Bernie Sanders, and then he moves to Kentucky. I don't know.
Yeah,
like everything they hold dear, Kyle wanted to take away from them, and then they took that very personally.
Yeah, it's not
like we are
hexed or something.
We forgot to mark dudes on corner kicks. Like that wasn't me. Okay.
You could have shown up at the match.
But Kyle will say that we were unlucky on that.
Hey, right? I do not say unlucky. I do not say unlucky.
I say
I might have said it once or twice.
I say luck. Yeah,
that was one of the things that working in athletics and working for the club, when you'd hear soccer coaches say unlucky. Oh, it's unlucky. Like I don't know about that, but
yeah.
Unlucky
that guy forgot to jump.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, it's all good. Mathematically, not mathematically, it doesn't matter.
See this math?
Boom. No, Kyle.
Tear it all up. Now we're each just take that and then throw it into the wind off of the mountain at Raven Run. Not really a mountain, but the cliff there. We'll just throw it into the wind and then it'll fall into the Kentucky River, and the Kentucky River sprites or whatever will reverse the curse. We're good. It's fine. We are not going to pollute the Kentucky River. Not that it really matters because it's already kind of
save our planet.
It's kind of already there.
Yeah,
really, we would never do that. Yeah,
not our beautiful Ohio River.
No, never the beautiful Ohio River. It's okay. We're good. So to answer that question, mixed on this. I'm going with vibes instead of math.
Yeah, I think we're done.
Vibes over math. And we're fine. All right. So League One, we're kind of coming up into a little bit of a break from the league. Maybe recapture magic against One Knox this weekend. Jaeger Cup again. Jaeger Cup has had a couple of stumbles, but overall it's been the shining light in everything this season. Can we just talk about Dylan? Sorry, I got distracted. If you're just listening and not watching, Dylan is like working on his grip strength. And I think it's just to like pump his fist in the air with extra ferocity when we win. So it's
going to be so I can easily do. You're playing the wrong formation.
Oh, I thought it was when you yell at the refs. That's usually what I'm
that
hearing.
too.
I think my
Yeah,
parents
like
had
he's
one of those
wasting time.
where you just squeeze it, work on their. Yeah.
Yeah, there you
Oh,
go.
yeah.
Boom. Anyway,
You have
so
ankle weights too, like you walk, like put little ankle weights on and walk.
That would be sick.
That would be cool.
yeah, it's like a Dragon Ball Z character. You
I-
unleash all the weights, and then you're 40 times as fast to run up and down the stands yelling at the refs. I love it.
But I am not a 78-year-old woman going out for her walks and her, her with her.
Tracksuit.
Yeah.
Speed walking like in the Olympics. Sorry, I
Yeah.
gotta stop. I gotta stop the topic.
Speaking of
we
mall
took a
walkers, you guys ever got in front of
yeah.
a mall walker before?
No.
I've actually been trapped behind mall walkers, which is infinitely
That's not a
terrible.
mall walker then, unless you're like, are you running in the mall? Because mall
Oh,
walkers
you mean
are fast.
like the super fast ones? I thought you meant like
Oh
the
yeah.
ones that kind of mosey
No, no,
and
no.
do
I'm
the
talking
thing.
about the
Oh,
people
okay.
who show up when the mall is open, but the stores aren't
Yeah.
open yet. Because I used to work in
Yeah.
a store in the mall. You get there
Yes,
early, and there are people that walk the perimeter, like they
man.
got their training, like that is their
The
workout.
ferocity. Maybe
Yeah,
those are the people training for the Olympics for the speed walking stuff.
maybe.
Maybe that's the
Um,
training. And now
yeah,
here they are
maybe. Who knows?
winning gold. That's what it is. Anyway, Jägermeister this weekend against One Knox. Okay. We're not gonna go too deep into this because we'll do like our match preview and everything. But I still have to address it because anytime we're gonna face One Knox, the bane of our existence, truly and wholly, just everything about it. It's at home. We're back at home against them. It feels like we're always playing them in Tennessee, like all the time. We're always there, and they're
It
like,
does.
"Oh, they won," and it's like, "Well, yeah, no wonder because you gave them home field advantage 2 out of our 3 times we face off." But anyway, sorry, I digress. I think I think that this will be a telling match because I think that One Knox um, isn't quite in the form that they once were earlier in the season, and so I don't know how you guys are feeling, but I'm very curious about this one. I know you have to always calculate Jaeger magic into this because it's the factor for us apparently, but I also kind of wonder like, all right, is this going to be a point where we see us build and take that next step? Now, do I think they're quite the same challenge that Charlotte was? Probably not. But at the same time, they've been like our Wolfsbane. Like every time that we face off with them, they always seem to get the upper hand on us. And so I think that this will be a massive morale boost for us, not only because it keeps us well within hopes of maintaining that Jaeger Cup potential, because we're not number one anymore, right? We're number 2, but a very close number 2. So it'll help us kind of keep hope alive that we can come away with some sort of hardware this season that's within our grasp. But also, I think it'll be really, really great for us to finally get a win over them, do it at home, and do it after we've had a couple relatively positive performances. So I don't know, like, what do you think the vibes are, you all, real quick?
I don't know. Like I'm definitely worried because they are the bane of our existence, like you said. They also keep the most clean sheets. Like they keep a lot of clean sheets. They don't let in many goals. They have a fantastic keeper. Um, they don't score that much though on the inverse as well. Occasionally they'll just get one goal and win. I don't know. I'm very worried. Like this is definitely a match that we really need to win. Like this has to be the get right game. Like especially Kyle talking math. I guess it's 10 league matches, but I don't really care. There's no line to me. It's all just games of our season to me.
Win them all, right?
Exactly.
Win them all.
Win every game in front of you. So
Yeah.
like I'm definitely concerned,
Yeah.
especially with how we just blew the last game. Like
Hmm.
I don't know.
You know
It's gonna be
what
tough.
wouldn't be concerning though for us is like I'm just saying if a bunch of fireworks are going on right outside of their hotel, I mean that would be
Tell me where they're
a
staying, and
bummer.
I'm there.
They might even be driving up that day. I don't even know. I have no idea where they're staying. Maybe we could just hope that there's a Legends game that night, and then they're shooting off fireworks like forever and ever. I feel like I can hear those no matter where I'm at in the city. So maybe they'll be staying like right within like a mile of that or something, and won't get any sleep. But only if the Legends do it the whole night. So I don't know if that'll work, but whatever. Anyway, Kyle, how you feeling about this, man?
I do think the winner of this match will win Group Two, the vaunted Group Two. I think either one of these teams will leapfrog forward Madison, who's got maybe a slightly tougher final two Jaeger matches, and they also don't like to score goals in the Jaeger Cup. So
Right.
I think if us or Knox, not that either one of our teams are hitting the back of the net too often, but I do think the winner of this match is like in the driver's seat for the group. That's not saying a lot considering there's only 2 matches left, but I think it could go a long way to not only kind of righting the ship against the rival Knoxville, but also putting us in the driver's seat for Group Two and continuing this kind of momentum that the club's been building. And I had some math earlier. I've since ripped it up. That where Lexington is 10th in the league in goals, Knoxville's 11th. So they also are not a big fan of scoring too many goals. I think I do think it's a match where, I mean, I've already cursed our team enough this year, so Knoxville hasn't scored more than 2 goals in any match at all this year, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
And they've only had 2 goals a handful of times, once against Lexington. But I think Lexington has the potential to kind of out firepower Knoxville in a lot of ways. And not saying that is what's going to happen, because I've seen this particular matchup too often, both in person and, as a fan and as a worker. And it's just that team that will not, that we just can't get past. But I do think it has the potential to be kind of maybe a culmination of recent results / taking control of Group Two / getting this Knoxville monkey off our back. So I'm positive, and I think the vibes around the club right now are positive in a lot of ways, with the stadium, with Super League, and all that. So I am choosing to be optimistic about Saturday.
I'm putting a lot of stock into this game. Like this is an important match. Very important. Like for overall this whole season, this is an important match. It's a rivalry game. It's at home. We're in this weird form where we're looking good, but we're not getting the results that we want. This is the time to get the result that we want. If anyone from the team is listening, this is the game to win here.
Yes. 100%. I mean, because truly, really, like Kyle, you pointed out, with Madison, they drop points this time. We get a win. We just got to beat Chattanooga after that. And I'm not saying Chattanooga can't win a game. I mean, obviously they can. They're ahead of us on the table. But I think that's a much more manageable matchup than what we're going up against with One Knox, where we just seem to be cursed against them. So I think this one, you win it. Hope for a Madison loss, and then I think that we can handle business against Chattanooga as long as we maintain that focus. And then we're out of the group stage, right? We're moving on, and the other route is we score 15 goals in the next 2 Jaeger Cup matches, and then we get in that way. So you know what?
I think Madison still plays Union Omaha in the Jägermeister Cup. So I think they could be on the receiving end of Omaha trying to. It might be out of reach basically for them. I think they're 5 back, but they still are. They're comfortably right now in the wild card position, but I don't think they'll be letting off the gas.
No, yeah, definitely not. So it'll be tough, but I agree. I think it'll be a big morale centered game. I think this will prove that we're kind of on a trajectory to keep earning points. I know this isn't league play, but still, form is form. Whatever you want to call it, Jägermeister League, it's all the same when you think about just form in general and gaining that momentum. And we need that next step in momentum.
I think what would be interesting too, just something to note, would be to see as these teams get eliminated and Fuego and Spokane, even in a certain sense, in Chattanooga, teams as they get eliminated from the Jaeger Cup, seeing how they treat those matches. If they really do, because I could see teams, if they are having some health issues, once you're eliminated, using that as an opportunity to rest. And I know up to this point we've seen Lexington for the most part, not really change anything
Mm-hmm.
specific to the cup matches, but I'd be interested to see if some of these fringe playoff teams, and I think really anyone right now could consider themselves in the hunt, which is what makes it exciting, is
Yeah.
see if anyone kind of, pulls off the gas a little bit in some of these matches, or if it's, business as usual.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's doable, and you make a great point about that, Kyle. With some of these other teams, maybe just being like, you know what, like why are we going to risk the health of our starters on this? Let's kind of pull some people out that are key players, and maybe not, throw Chevon Marsh and Rapapa Mensah at Lexington in this last game in
Well,
the cup.
because I could see too. I mean, if things go sideways Saturday,
Mm-hmm.
and the Jaeger Cup's 8th match for us is not of any
Not a
consequence,
factor.
I
Yeah.
I could see some, some more depth being played, right? Like I think it'd be an opportunity to see at this point of the season, like some of the players we haven't seen much of, getting a chance to play and like kind of prove themselves a little bit. So I could see
Yeah.
Lexington going that route. So I would imagine others might as well.
That's like the ideal for me. If it doesn't matter anymore the last game, to see those players that we've not gotten to see, that would be my ideal. I know it doesn't always matter what my ideal is. The other option, of course, is just to play everybody as midfielders and forwards and have no keeper and no defender, and just see if we can get those 20 goals to get the 4th spot, and then just
Oh,
go straight off vibes.
so I'm wondering, soccer, tell me I'm dumb. They pull the goalie a lot in hockey, right?
Yeah,
Just hear me out. Like, could you
you've been
play
watching too much TST.
could you play someone far back enough that they could theoretically get like a long shot over the head? Probably not. I'm an idiot, right? Sound off in the comments. I think it would be a bad idea. But like, could you pull the goalie? Maybe. Not just for the occasional header in the, on a late set piece. I'm
I
talking about,
wanted us
all the
like
time.
yeah, sub them
on
out.
against Charlotte when we had a late corner. I don't know why we didn't bring them all up to help on the corner. Like,
Yeah.
go all out, go for the win.
Fears that it just booted down the other side, and
Well, our season's
Yeah,
trash
yeah.
anyway. Who gives? Like,
Yeah,
like this
points
paper.
though. Points. Yeah, the
No, yeah.
paper. It's
No,
confetti.
points
That's
are,
actually going to be confetti, Kyle. You
yeah,
just made confetti for the future for when we pull this off, and
yeah.
that's what that is. Math confetti.
Tell me,
Umizoomi confetti.
tell me why pulling the goalie is a bad idea. I just want to hear that.
Everybody tell Kyle this, specifically at him in the comments to this episode. Like,
Yeah, you can, or
flood
tweet
him.
at me. Tweet at me. It's at SWEENARROW, Sween Arrow on Twitter. Go ahead and
Isn't
tweet
there
at
an
me.
underscore in between?
no.
No,
So,
that's on Instagram. My bad.
Go ahead and tweet
There you
at
go.
me all your thoughts.
All of them.
dude, that's fair. I don't have notifications on, so I won't get them. I won't get them. I won't listen
You're
to
like,
them.
Dylan will be in
Why would you
bliss.
do that?
It's all good.
Yeah, I won't know. If you do it,
That's all.
I won't know.
It won't even matter. Love it. Oh, all right. So let's get to this last question, y'all. We got one final one, which it's going to be a quick one because I don't know if I'm ready to address it or not. It's a hard one, to be honest. This is probably more difficult than the other questions, and the other ones we kind of had like a little bit of a runaround with it. So we had somebody ask us if we would put out a mock potential starting lineup for our Super League team. Now I'm not ready to talk about that yet. I know Kyle, Dylan, I don't think they are either, for a couple of reasons. One being that, to be honest, I don't know what formation we're going to be using. So I'm curious about that. That matters, which I guess I can always just come with a hypothetical one, which we probably will do since we don't know. We have some other players supposedly heading our way. I know Coach Dickey said that the other day at the kit reveal, which I guess we didn't talk about that. The kit reveal we can talk about for a second. But I know he mentioned that we have some players from overseas coming our way. I know some that have already been announced aren't here just yet, but are on their way at some points in the near future. I think Grace Wisniewski, I think she might already be here, but I'm not 100% sure. So I don't know if that means that we're going to get another signing from overseas that maybe hasn't been announced or not. So that kind of makes it difficult.
Someone maybe playing in the Olympics.
Maybe. who knows? That'd be pretty cool. That'd be rad if it was somebody playing in the Olympics. I'm not gonna lie, that would be dope. Although now that field's narrowed, most of them have kind of moved on since we're kind of towards the end of it. So wonder if they'll be back here soon. The other reason why it's kind of tough is I really don't know who I choose right now. I've looked at all these players and their film and written stuff about them, and like I don't know that I would feel confident choosing for sure who should be out there. So maybe we'll just be crazy. Maybe one day we'll come up with a random formation that we just think we'd like to see on the field and players that we think might work out well together, and then kind of use that as our base. Now, forewarning, it will be a very uneducated setup because we don't know what formations Mike Dickey likes to use. We don't know for sure where each of these players are going to be used because a lot of them have multiple roles that they can and probably will fulfill. So maybe this will just be kind of like a nice little guessing game, and then we'll check in a few weeks and then see who is terribly, terribly wrong, and then it'll probably be all of us. But it would be cool too, though, if we do that, if other fans do that as well, like use buildlineup.com or what's the other one, Starting 11, is that right? I think that's the other one, maybe. If other people use those and post them. So I think that'd be kind of a neat, fun little exercise. So just be patient. We'll see what we can do about that. Just not now. I'm down. Something to look forward to in the future, along with the Jaeger Cup win, right? Hey, before we leave, though, let's do that because we didn't do that at the beginning. That was my bad. I just slipped my mind. All the days are running together. Summer mode for a school librarian, right? It's just every day is a party. New kit. We have the away kit revealed for the women's team. I was there whenever they did it. It was cool. It was a fun time. Everybody was watching the game. It was pretty rad. Away kit seems very much like kind of our vibe, right? When we look at like our past ones. I don't know. What do we think?
It's clean.
Yeah.
I knowing a little bit about what goes into the kit process for both the club and the league and Nike. There are quite a few limitations. I think it's a clean look. I really like this kind of vapor kit that Nike has out right now, or
Those
has
are
had out
amazing.
for a little bit. So I really think you could, even the solid ones look solid. So yeah, I mean, it's clean. It's got, I don't really know. I need to know a little bit more. I wasn't there maybe they explained a little bit about what the kind of breaststroke looking things mean, but
They didn't.
I don't know if there's any market speak behind it, but I liked the Commonwealth on the back.
Yes, that was cool.
So that was cool.
Yeah, I thought they were fine, really. And I think John of the Railbirds had, he tweeted something out, and I kind of shared the same sentiment where, like, it's fine, it's serviceable. It's just a clean white kit. It's fine. I'm really hoping the primary kit, our home kit, is going to be something like really cool and electric that helps them stand out. I had this weird thought, like I know Chelsea's new kits this season. Each player has their own pattern. The kits are like burned blue, and so like every player has a different like pattern on their jersey actually. So
Nice.
I very much doubt that our away kits are the same way, but it would be cool if all the different players had different brush strokes. Like, the brush strokes you were talking about, Kyle.
Mm-hmm.
It would be cool if like each player had their own specific brush strokes.
That would be cool.
Yeah, that would be pretty rad. And I know like the vapor kits are especially have limitations. But I also know the players really like them. They've all said that they like love the feel and the performance behind them, and they're amazing. Like the quality is almost a match. But they do have those limitations with everything else. I do hope that if our home kit is also a vapor, really no matter what it is, I'd like us to kind of like lean a little bit more into like the jockey patterns, like we did with the first away kit. Right, which Kyle, you had a hand in that one, and I thought that was really, really neat to like lean into that vibe, and that there was like an actual story behind it that linked with Dixiana Farms and had the jockey type of patterning. And there's so many different patternings that go with the jockey vibe that I think it could work really well to kind of keep that thing going. And if we ever get to a point where we have more freedom with our kits to have more comprehensive designs that cover more of the kit, I think it'd be even more amazing to have something like that.
Yeah, and that's one where it's you run up on the limitations of not only working with Nike. I mean, let's face it, they're the giant, right? Like
Right.
Lexington is not on their radar in terms of
Yeah.
that type of custom you know um, kit, and that's what makes it tough too. Because I'd like to see more use of the green. I think the black kit that they wear this year looks fantastic, but
Yeah.
I'd love to see a green kit as well. And that's where like they don't make that vapor in green. It's just not a color that they make that kit unless it's custom.
Boo.
And I know. So you are suffering in quality if you go with green, right? So that's in anyone at home who has the like maybe the home kit from last year and then the
Yeah.
white away, you can tell the difference in the two. But
Yeah.
so that would be cool. But yeah, it's one of those that I think each year you get more familiar with like the vendor, and obviously like you don't work with Nike, you work with Nike's regional vendor, right? And like figuring out the possibilities because there are more possibilities than what has been done. Sometimes it's just you don't necessarily need to make a splash right away. So I think playing it a little bit safe with this away kit is a good idea.
Yeah.
Nike remains the partner in the future. Hopefully, it can continue to be developed and, like you said, more patterns elsewhere
I,
on the kit.
I hope that like you said, they're playing it safe for the first one, the first reveal, to like really blow us away for the second reveal. Like I really hope it's gonna be unique.
Well, and I think there's a workaround to this whole system too, because I think that it's important to choose what the players like for the material, but then there's also another direction you can go for the fans, and that's with like the training tops, like the training kits. I wish we would do some more of those types of things. Some teams do those because those you can go crazy with the designs because
These
you
are
can
really
choose
cool.
something that
Yeah.
allows that. You know what I mean? And I would be okay with that. I know everybody's like a purist and is like, no, I need to have like the game day match kit. And yeah, I get it. I love those too. But also, if you really like something with crazy vibes and very unique design patterns, I think that's a good way that you can like get that to fans and be like, here's something that has a lot of soul, has a lot of spirit to it. Wear this, like, and it's still team official. It's training kits, go that route, and then that way you can still say, well, while we're with Nike, we're going to do the vapor because that's what the players prefer. That's what helps them on the field perform best. So we want to do that, but we also want to give you guys the design that you are looking for. So I think that'd be a cool compromise if we saw some of that starting to happen. All right, Kyle, did you have something? I feel like I cut you off, man.
No, I agree. You can go like with those kind of training tops or warm up tops. Like you can have a lot more creativity and more kind of personality. I think they'd be very popular, and then the price
Yeah.
point wouldn't be as prohibitive either. That's the other part of an issue with Nike, and I know a lot of folks that have qualms about the price, that they're paying for a USL League One kit, but a lot of that is because that's how much the kit costs, right? Like,
Yeah.
so you could kind of maybe meet some folks in the middle if you had other options that still felt like player authentic, but not quite at the level of a kit. Because the other thing
100%.
about those vapors, they are built for like they're designed for athletes. So like mine,
Yeah.
I had to return mine because like the first one I got, I like squeezed into it and I was like, we're not leaving much to the imagination. So I had to go and get a size up because they're made for athletes. So just not as comfortable for the fan, which I always thought it would be cool to get the cheaper Nike kit with the exact like white kit with the exact same, and then you could charge less. It wouldn't be authentic. You would call it like replica or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
Fans could get either the authentic or the replica for cheaper. That would maybe be a more t-shirt like fit. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
I agree. I think there's some directions that could come with that, and maybe they're working on something similar to that, and it's coming down the line. But if they're not, if anybody from LSC is listening, like float that idea, like get that out there. Come up with some cool stuff that people can access. From a financial standpoint, from a design standpoint, they're going to be really happy. Not that anybody's unhappy with the kits, but you can be really creative and kind of flex your muscle a little bit.
I would just be happy with more merch options in general, just like overall, and like I want more variety in them too, and To be honest, I don't always love the Nike stuff. I feel like the Nike stuff always like shrinks after one wash. And I feel like the free like shirt, it says the hashtag believe on it, and
Oh
like our
man,
fans
mine's
are better than.
pitiful.
Yeah, mine's like, it's starting to fade a little bit, but it's the most comfortable one, and it's not a Nike shirt, and
Yeah,
it hasn't shrunk for me too. So like,
yeah,
I I would love just a different variety of merch.
yeah. Mine, like the actual text and everything on it, is started to kind of like break apart on it
Mine
because
too.
our washing machine is like beat it up, I guess. Although my wife's is perfect. I don't know how. She's worn it just as much as I have. I don't know. It's witchcraft or something. I don't know. But no,
So
that's
you
it's a
don't
good
believe?
show.
Is that what it is?
I do. I
Does
believe
it fade,
so hard that it's causing the letters to explode on the
does it
shirt,
fade
Kyle.
as your belief fades, like Santa
No, there's
Claus?
no fade. It's exploding with belief. That's
Hmm.
why the letters are cracking apart. It can't contain the amount of belief that I have. Like,
Okay.
duh. Everyone knows that.
You haven't even
Like,
begun to see him believe,
yeah,
Kyle.
like if
No one
this
will
was like a
believe
Santa
harder than I will believe.
situation, if this is like an elf Santa situation, the movie Elf, I would be single-handedly making the sleigh fly. If it was an LSC sleigh, like if he just popped a CKL sticker on the sleigh, Lexington Sporting Club sticker on the sleigh, that puppy would get it done in record time.
Oh my
That's how
God,
much belief I've got.
Thunder is a
Thunder.
reindeer.
Thunder is the only one pulling it. That's
Whoa.
it. We don't even need the other reindeer. Just Thunder.
Oh my
When did
God,
this turn into a Christmas episode?
someone who's really, really good at Photoshop and creative, like a fan of ours, needs to make a picture where it's Tyler and he's in a green Santa suit. It's not red and white, it's green and white, and then
Yeah.
there's Thunder pulling a sleigh. Please.
Somebody's making that. We haven't even released the episode yet, and somebody's making that as we speak.
Crazy.
Guaranteed. Except it'll probably be used to troll me in some way. I
That
don't know if I.
that could be the first CKL merch. That on a
Yeah.
shirt.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
Then,
that would be so sick.
Yeah.
yeah. CKL clause. I like it. There we go. We got our Christmas merch already lined up. It's good. Oh, sweet. Okay, guys. This has been a long one, but a good one. I feel like we talked about a lot of great things. Solved all the world's problems, obviously. We realized math is unnecessary in any way, shape, or form. I don't know. You maybe need geometry. I won't say that. Like geometry is probably pretty important. No, not even when you're doing like home projects. Just kind of wing it. No, okay, never mind. Kyle says no.
You can just
So never.
I've hung up some
Is that why all
pictures.
your pictures are crooked?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, that okay, they're
It's
pretty
art.
crooked.
It's
Yeah.
art. It's not crooked. It's art. I wouldn't understand. I'm not cultured enough. So we're excited about this weekend, though. Momentum is still there. I know that we talked a lot about like, man, that draw should have been a win, but it's coming. We got this. Like we're building that momentum. Here's that belief that I'm showing Kyle. Kyle, see, here it is. Hear the excitement in my voice. It's just there we go.
Letters are starting to reappear. I can see it.
Yes. Yes, as we speak. So hey, that one Knox game though, for real, everybody make sure you get out there. Like I know that that barrel is not gonna be in our possession, but I love the idea that we could potentially get our first win against them at home. That only feels right, especially in the Jaeger Cup. Big match for a lot of reasons, morale wise, for us staying competitive in the Jaeger Cup, hoping for a flamingo loss. Boo flamingos. If you go to a zoo and you see flamingos, boo and hiss at them. They won't know what's going on, but you'll know in your heart of hearts why you're doing it, because we need it. So come out to this match this weekend, you guys. Come out, cheer on this team. They're obviously working hard to get things right, get where they need to be, putting it all out there, scoring some insane goals. Hopefully we'll get to see a lot of those types of goals in person this weekend as we take on our rivals. And just, I don't know, if you see a One Knox person in Lexington, be nice to them, but then also nicely let them know that we hate their team. It's fair compromise, right? Hate your team, but you're an okay person outside of that. There you go. No, oh yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe if you want,
We can.
you don't have to.
We'll heckle their players on the field.
Yes. And in the stadium, we'll heckle everybody. But then outside of the stadium, we'll just kind of morph. And then we'll be like, hey, can I show you a really cool like brewery down the street? There, compromise. Keep it all on the field or in the stands. Yeah, so come out, guys. Everybody be there. I'll have my stickers on me. If you haven't got a sticker yet and you want one, I got CKL stickers still. Everybody comes every once in a while and shows up and grabs one. I'm at the very front of 102 or down at the bottom right next to the field. So you can't really miss me. I'm always wearing like the actual kit with my name on it, number 22. Just come find me, get a sticker, put it on like a water bottle or your dog, or actually, I don't know if I should say that. Don't do it to your dog. PETA might come after you. That might be some sort of like bad thing. Don't do that at all. Put it on inanimate objects wherever you can. Okay. So until next time, everybody, thanks for listening in. We'll catch you guys on the next episode of the Crane Kicks Lex podcast.